All right, so thank you for tuning in to Chomp at the Bit. I'm Kyle Edwards, of course. And on this episode, what else is there to talk about? But we are now on to second day of the Super Wildcard weekend in the NFL. So this episode, we're going to take a look at, we'll just quickly summarize the two games from Saturday, what happened. And then we'll get into the three matchups on Sunday, give you, things to watch, key players, that kind of stuff. And then I'll give you my picks. Now for the playoffs, I'm not only doing just the picks against the spread, but I'm also giving you just my straight up picks for the winner of the game. So with that, I guess we might as well just go ahead and get started. So Saturday we saw two games, because as you remember, with it being Super Wildcard weekend, there's now 2 games Saturday, 3 Sunday, 1 on Monday. 2 on Saturday, we saw the Bengals end their 30-year drought and get a postseason win over the Raiders. Although it did come with some controversy, as now we've learned that the crew that officiated the game will no longer work in the playoffs this season. So that kind of lets you know what went on in the game. That's not to take anything away from Cincinnati, of course, because they played really well. I did pick them to win the game. So, I was pleased with what I saw. We saw Joe Burrow in his first game in the playoffs play well. We saw a breakout performance from Jamar Chase, which kind of falls along with how he's gone in the regular season. And he's letting people know that he, in such a short amount of time, has turned into a pretty elite wide receiver, because he can get you deep, you can throw it to him short, and because of his running ability, he can get a lot of yards after the catch. We even saw in the game yesterday that they used him in the running game as well, with some jet sweeps and that kind of stuff. So it was good to see from Cincinnati. For the Raiders as well, it was a good game. The Raiders gave themselves a chance to win it late. They were actually in the red zone and driving with the chance to get the tying score, but David Carr threw a pass into the end zone that was picked off, and that's how it ended. Yeah, so even for the Raiders, they had a good year as well. It sucks that it ends the way that it did, but through everything that they overcame, because the Gruden situation, Henry Ruggs situation, and the other guy, I can't remember his name, but their draft pick who had that video with the threatening and all that kind of stuff. So they dealt with all of that, made the playoffs. They had a good showing. So now their drought continues, because I think the Raiders are up to, I guess it'd be 20 years now, because the Bengals ended theirs of 30 years. So something was going to give, and the Bengals drought is now over, which means the Detroit Lions are now on watch, because they now have the longest playoff drought of any team in the NFL. Might last a little bit longer, but we'll see. Then the second game, we saw the Bills and the Patriots. So third matchup between the two teams of the AFC East. And the Bills, they put it on New England. They put it on my Patriots. I fully take that. But what we did learn in that game, though, is the Bills team that we saw last night is the same Bills team that, coming into the season, a lot of people were putting them as a Super Bowl favorite. So if they continue to play this way, there's no reason why the Bills can't come out of the AFC, because we saw it all last night. We saw them play a more physical style of football in cold weather. I mean, the weather wasn't bad because, the wind wasn't an issue like it was week 13, but it was 0 degrees. No, not 0 degrees. I think it was like 5 degrees, but I guess the wind chill was like -7 or something like that. So we saw Buffalo at times run the ball with Singletary, and he brought a physical style to the running game. We saw, what we normally see with Josh Allen running the ball. We saw Josh Allen throwing the ball as well as he threw. I think he threw for 5 touchdowns. And defensively, they were flying around the ball. Micah Hyde made that great interception on the pass from, was it Mac Jones over to, who was that to? Aguilar. And at that time it was 14-0. And that was kind of the moment where it seemed like it was going to be Buffalo's night, because Mac Jones made a perfect throw. It was just that Hyde, timed his run perfectly and basically picked it off like a split second before it was going to land right into Aguilar's hands. So for another year, Buffalo can claim, supremacy over the AFC East and over New England. And I guess a side note for my fellow Patriot fans, it was encouraging to see Mac Jones perform as well as he did under the conditions. It was a game where they were down early, so they couldn't really rely on the running game as much as they wanted to. So a lot of pressure was put on Mac Jones, and we saw him deliver some great throws. There were some drops from Patriots receivers, so his numbers would have looked even better. We even saw him use his feet a few times, dancing around the pocket. The throw to Hunter Henry down the sideline, where he, the pressure came up. He stepped up in the pocket, sidestepped, rolled out a little bit, and then threw it over the top. We also saw him use his legs to get a key first down on a drive. So I think that if there were any questions at this point of whether Mac Jones was the guy to lead New England, I guess, into the next era after Brady, I think those are answered. So I'm excited to see how he comes back next year. And one last note for Buffalo, of course, being a divisional rival, there's hatred there. But I will say that Buffalo is a team that, the hatred for the Jets, it's a different kind of hate. Even for the Dolphins, a little bit different. Buffalo, there was hatred there, but I don't think it was really that strong between Patriots fans in terms of the Bills. Recently, I think it's gotten, got turned up a little bit, especially with winning the division last year, now this year, and how Bills Mafia, all that. But I'm not gonna lie and say that when Buffalo is playing like they did last night, they're not, I can't lie and say that they're not an exciting team to watch. So now that they move on and Cincinnati's moving on, that means, because Cincinnati was the 4 seed, Buffalo was a 3. So if Kansas City wins today, then that means Cincinnati would go to Tennessee and then Buffalo would go to Kansas City. If the Steelers were to win, then the Steelers would go to Tennessee and Cincinnati would go to Buffalo next weekend. All right, so that's what happened last night. But now let's push forward and look at today's slate of games. So like I said, 3 games today. We have the Eagles, Buccaneers at 1, 49ers, Cowboys 4:30, and then Steelers, Chiefs at 8:15 tonight. I don't think I'm going out on much of a limb here by saying that I think the 49ers Cowboys game, the middle game of the tripleheader today, is probably going to be the best game of the day. But let's go ahead and look at Eagles Buccaneers first, since that's the first game of the day. And I mean, the Bucs come into this one at 13-4. They were the 2 seed in the NFC, and the Eagles at 9-8 were the 7 seed. And how did they get here? Well, I mean, the Bucs, we were expecting this. Brady, even at 44 right now, played at an MVP level. They still have those weapons in the wide receiving group. Fournette running the ball. Defense was great against the run all year. And I mean, that basically carried them to 13-4. They did deal with the Antonio Brown thing, which still don't really know what's going on there, because I think the last thing I heard was like Antonio Brown has talked to Brady. So I don't know, whatever. But he's not there, so that's enough time for that. And they're coming into this looking to, go back to back, win a second Super Bowl in a row. We know how tough that is in the NFL. But the last team to do it were the Patriots some years ago, who had Tom Brady. So if any guy knows what it takes to do it, Brady does. And well, he's Gronk there as well, so they can kind of pull the other players in the right direction and hopefully try to finish off the job and get the rare back-to-back Super Bowl. The Eagles, I would say it's probably a surprise that they are in this situation. They're a team that's built on the run. Jalen Hurts factors into the running game a lot like Josh Allen. And I'll say, so unlike Josh Allen though, Jalen Hurts does need to get better in the passing game, of course, but he still has some years to develop into that. And also for him, this is a chance to show the Eagles fans who maybe have questions about him, kind of like Mac Jones with New England. Although Mac Jones, showed a little more throughout the regular season, but I think there are some questions with Hurts in terms of his ability to make big throws. So what bigger stage than a playoff game with everybody watching? So I guess we'll start with when the Buccaneers have the ball. For the Bucs, I mean, they just got to do what they do, which is, get Fournette going. And then, I guess, stay away from the issues last year. If you remember, their first round matchup last year was against Washington, and they struggled mightily against the team that most people thought that they should have blown out. So I think the key when the Buccaneers have the ball is, not to say this happened last year, but maybe they were looking past Washington and didn't take them as seriously. And because of that, the offense was out of sync. So when they have the ball, treat the Eagles like it's the Super Bowl and just worry about execution. The quick passes on the edge, hitting, Gronk and Evans, those type of guys over the middle. And like I said, Fournette running the ball with power. If they do that, they'll be fine. For the Eagles on defense, my guess is you would want it to be something where I would say that they should focus on the passing game, because there are a lot of weapons in the passing game, and make it where the Bucs have to go on long drives behind Fournette and try to score that way. You don't want to give up, quick hitters to the Bucs, like deep balls over the top or anything like that. Big chunk plays. You want to limit those against the Bucks, and then you give yourself a chance. Flip side, the Eagles have the ball. It's going to be tough because the Eagles, like I said, want to run, and the Bucks have, I think, the number one rated rush defense in the NFL. If it's not number one, it's at least top 3. I know they were number one a lot of the year, but I'm not sure if they kept it throughout the year. But so in that case, that doesn't mean that the Eagles have to completely abandon the run. It's just that they have to go into it expecting that it's not going to be as successful as they want it to be. I mean, there are creative ways to try to create rushing yards, for them. Reverses and all that kind of stuff. But Jalen Hurts is going to have to, I'm going to say, play the best game of his NFL career, which that goes for anybody when it comes to the playoffs, but Jalen Hurts more than most. And for Nick Sirianni, hey, you're coming in as a sizable underdog. Nobody's expecting the Eagles to win. Leave it all out there. If you have to go for a bunch of fourth downs and, try to extend drives, do it. Any trick plays you may have that you've been sitting on, empty it out. Just go for it all right now. And then Bucks on defense, play the run, force Jalen Hurts to beat him. I think it's a simple game plan on defense for the Bucks. So looking at the line here, the line is set with the Bucks -7. Like I said, as long as the Bucks don't do what they did last year with Washington, where they let Washington hang around in the game, I think the Bucks can cover that pretty easily. So I'm gonna go Bucks -7. Just means I'm picking the Bucks to win the game as well. Also, now that I just said that, so yesterday's games I went 1-1 against the spread. I got the Bengals right, Patriots wrong, but I went 2-0 picking straight up because I picked the Bengals and the Bills to win. Okay. Back to today's games. So Bucks to win and cover -7. All right, so now let's move to the second game of the day, the 49ers and the Cowboys. This is a game that I said should be the best game of the day, and it's one that I'm very interested in seeing what happens here. Because 49ers and Cowboys, for if there are any young listeners out there, if any of you are I don't know, probably younger than 15 maybe, 49ers and Cowboys back in the 90s was an annual thing in the playoffs, and it was great. You'd get, Emmitt Smith, Aikman, those boys with Montana, Jerry Rice, all that. I think they normally met the NFC wild card for a lot of years. I mean, not the wild card, NFC championship game in a lot of years, but it was a great playoff rivalry. So it's good to see it renewed today. Hopefully, maybe we get a little run here where they meet in the playoffs every year. But interesting matchup of teams. Cowboys come in 12-5, winners of the NFC East, and the Niners 10-7 as the wild card team. So this is the 4-5 matchup. No, this is 3-6 matchup. Yeah, 3-6. Cowboys are the 3 seed, Niners 6 seed. So how did they get here? I mean, for the Cowboys, it's just another year where the division just wasn't that good. I mean, yes, they got some, good wins outside the division, of course, but every year they're kind of just penciled in as the division winner, so it's kind of expected. But I will say that this Cowboys team is, it's a pretty good team. Their defense was pretty good this year with Trayvon Diggs, Stephon Diggs' brother. He had, 11 interceptions. I mean, he's if you look up ball hawk, that's what he is. At times, it can't get him in trouble because, you can get him on, the occasional double move, and he'll jump he'll jump the route, and on your double move, you can get behind him. But he has great ball skills in the air, and if he does get the interception, I mean, he's got good vision on the return. So that's something that the Niners got to look for. I mean, you can throw at him, so don't get me wrong. He's not one of those lockdown corners who puts wide receivers on the island and you don't look over there. You can throw his way. You just have to be careful in what you do. And yeah, so running back, we know they got Ezekiel Elliott, but I feel like this year we saw the emergence of Tony Pollard. So you'll see both of them throughout the game. Dak Prescott had a great bounce back year after last year with the leg injury that we all remember. Dan Quinn, who failed as the Falcons coach, gets the defensive coordinator job with the Cowboys, has a good year. We'll see what that does for him. I always said when he was with the Falcons that he's probably a lifelong coordinator. I don't know if he's built for the head coaching position, but we've seen in the NFL, guys do get recycled. So if the Cowboys have a good showing today, I would not be surprised if tomorrow we start hearing about Dan Quinn's name popping up for some of these open head coaching positions. The Niners, they had like a little bit of an up and down year, but that was mainly because of injuries. They dealt with injuries to Garoppolo, Kittle, Samuel. Let's see, Trent Williams. I think Brandon Ayuk at some point in the year was hurt. Defensively, Bosa and some other guys. Those are the ones I can remember off the top of my head. And they navigated through all of that to get to 10 wins, get a wild card spot, and they position themselves to be probably the best odds of any of the wild card teams to make a run to the Super Bowl. I could probably say the 49ers are, well, now that I think about that, the Cardinals are also a wild card team. But yeah, the 49ers have as best of odds as anybody. And after the games last night, I remember it might have been Bill Cowher talking about how the league average for the playoffs is normally like at least one road team gets a win in the wild card. We didn't get any yesterday as Bengals and Bills as the home teams won. So looking at the three matches today, well, after I review Steelers and Chiefs, then we'll decide. But I think the Niners probably have the best chance of a road team of getting a win. And an interesting side note to this game will be in terms of the atmosphere down in Dallas. How many 49ers fans will infiltrate and get into the stadium? Because we've seen times this year where road teams have had a really good presence down in Dallas. What was it like? I think the Raiders were one team. I feel like there was other ones, but I think it was the Raiders game I remember really well, where it basically sounded like a home game for the Raiders down there. And I wouldn't be shocked if that happened today with the Niners, because we know Niners fans will travel, and especially to Dallas. Yeah, they will have no problem going there. So when the Cowboys have the ball, I think the key for them is going to be get Ezekiel Elliott going. He has looked a little slow this year at times, but now with the change of pace of Tony Pollard, hopefully for the Cowboys' sake, holding Elliott back a little bit in the regular season, maybe it keeps him fresh for like a legit playoff run. And then for the Niners on defense, I'd say probably Nick Bosa, or we'll just say the front for the Niners. If they can contain the run and keep Prescott within the pocket, I think they'll be fine. Because you don't want to create a situation where you're rushing upfield, creating lanes for Prescott to get outside the pocket, and then now they're playing scramble drill because you have Cedric Wilson, Mari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb in the wide receiver group, where they can all beat you deep. So you want to contain Prescott, keep him in the pocket, and see if he can make plays just standing back there. The other way around, when the Niners have the ball, Deebo Samuel, he has to be the MVP for the offense because he is a Swiss Army knife where he's great in the passing game. Over the top, you can throw a wide receiver screen to him. He'll go over the middle. But as we've seen at times this year, they'll just line him up in the backfield and hand it off to him, and he can make plays there as well. So it'll be important to get him going in this game. If he's shut down, that puts a lot of pressure on, Garoppolo and I guess George Kittle at that point to try to carry the offense. So Deebo Samuel is the key for me when the Niners have the ball. And for the Cowboys, so I guess for the Cowboys will be containing Deebo Samuel. Yeah. And by doing that, same way, pressure Garoppolo, because we know that I don't think he's fully healed from the hand injury. So they're going to want to get hits on him and see if he can hold up, because we know Garoppolo doesn't have the greatest injury history. He does get nicked up a lot. So they're going to want to put pressure on him and get hits on him. So the line is set with Dallas -3. As I just said, I think with this one, I'm going to go upset here. For some reason, I see it in this matchup where I think Garoppolo will make enough plays with his arm, and Deebo Samuel's going to have not monster game, but he'll have a big impact on this game. So I'm going to take the Niners here plus the 3, and I'm taking the Niners to win outright. So now the final game of the day. This is the primetime game. We've got the Steelers and Chiefs. Steelers coming at 9-7-1, Chiefs 12-5. So this is the 2-7 matchup. How did they get here? We know this. How we know what happened with the Steelers. I believe they got off to a pretty decent start. Then in the middle, there was quite a bit of struggle. We saw Big Ben have a really up and down season. I mean, there were some games where it looked like where he looked serviceable, I'll say. There weren't really any games where he looked great, so I'm not going to lie and say that. But he looked serviceable. There were other games where he looked like he probably overdid his stay and should have retired years ago. Well, not years ago, after last year. We saw the emergence of Najee Harris in the backfield. Now, they did get in over the craziness with the Chargers, Raiders, that final game. So they're in this. They're playing with house money. It looks like Big Ben's final games here, whether it's today or if they win next week, whatever. So we know there's going to be a lot of emotion behind the Steelers organization because, like with any organization, when you have a player who's been such a key player for you, as Big Ben has been for the Steelers, that you want to send him off in the best way possible. For the Chiefs, started off slow. A lot of people wrote them off. They, struggled early with the passing game, just didn't look right. They had no running game. Mahomes was throwing a lot of interceptions, but they were all kind of the same way where, off Tyreek Hill's hand or Kelsey's hand and picked off that way. Figured it out middle of the season and then kind of took off a little bit the end of the year where they looked more like themselves towards the end of the year, but still something's a little off with them. They come into this one with, the hopes of getting back to the Super Bowl after losing last year, except for this time. Obviously, they didn't want to win it. And yeah, they're the AFC West champions. So start with the Chiefs. When the Chiefs have the ball, I just want to see if the offense just runs with a, with the flow that we've seen in past years where, Mahomes is throwing it all over the yard. They're getting some production in the running game. I don't know if I'm going to expect a lot of that today because I think Edwards-Helaire is out. And the Steelers, I think, were decent against the run. They weren't great, but I don't think they were terrible against the run. So we'll see. Can Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, who's the wide receiver? Who am I missing? Is Watkins still there? I don't know. Well, we know that Hill and Kelce are the biggest weapons, so we'll stick with that. So it's become a game where, Chiefs are clearly the better team. It's one of those where it's a laugher, and Tyreek Hill's having 50-yard, has a 50-yard touchdown or a 60-yard big play. Kelsey's getting open anytime he wants over the middle, and they're just overpowering the Steelers. That's what I want to see when they have the ball. So Steelers defensively, it's going to come down to their, defensive player of the year candidate, TJ Watt. It's going to be imperative on him to get to Mahomes. Try to get in his face, force him to do what he wants to do sometimes, those awkward sidearm throws and all that kind of stuff. And take advantage when, if he throws a little high and the ball's tipped, the Steelers better be the team coming out on the other end with the turnover. Can't let those plays, go off hands and land harmlessly to the turf or anything like that. Take advantage when those opportunities present themselves. It's a game where if the defense can hold the Chiefs down for a little bit, I think some of the rumblings in the crowd may start happening. Maybe you get into the head of Mahomes and we see a little bit of what we saw earlier in the season with the unnecessary turnovers and all that. So I think for the Steelers, Watt would probably need to have probably at least 2 sacks and just be a disruptive force to give the Steelers a chance. Other side, Steelers have the ball. Lean on Harris. Not to say that they could completely beat the Chiefs only on Harris, but lean on him. Try to get 4 or 5 yards on first and second down. Create third and shorts where Big Ben can kind of, dink, dunk, quick slant here to extend drives. And I think there's going to be probably 2 or 3 times in this game where it's going to come down to Big Ben going over the top. Can he convert on those plays? Smith-Schuster, I think, is supposed to be active for this game, which I believe will give a boost to the offense. You have Claypool, as long as he doesn't, start going rogue and, doing random stuff. But, yes, Big Ben's going to have to factor into this game. But Steelers, don't try to rewind the clock and, have Big Ben throw it 50 times or something like that in this game. Because trust me, if you do that, it's not going to end well. He's not that guy. You got to use Harris, run game, screen game, quick hitters to the Claypool, Schuster types. You got Freiermuth, the tight end. Use him. Try to go on long drives against this team. Keep Mahomes on the sideline. If they do that, that's their best chance. Chiefs defensively, up front, Chris Jones, that group. Stop the run. That's it. Force Big Ben to beat you. Because we know he doesn't have the strongest arm anymore. And he's not mobile at all in the pocket. So if you stifle the run and then make Big Ben beat you and then get to Ben, who's once he drops back, you know where he's going to be. Get in his face. Then turnovers will happen, and I think the Chiefs will go on to win this one easily. So, the line. Okay, the line just jumped up. I could have sworn this morning it was like 12.5. It's now up to 13. It's a big line. I know that. It's always tough, but normally a line like that kind of screws you in the end. Because, backdoor cover, that kind of stuff. I'm going to limb. I'm going to take the Chiefs to win this game. And I'll take the Chiefs to cover. So Chiefs minus 13. So to recap, I'm going Bucks minus 7. I'm going Bucks to win the first game over the Eagles and cover minus 7. I'm taking the Niners to upset the Cowboys. And of course, for the Niners to cover plus 3. And the Chiefs to win and cover minus 13. Bucks minus 7, Niners plus 3, Chiefs minus 13. So, of course, once the games are played, come back, do an episode, recap the 3 games, and then get you set for the final game Monday night. So hopefully you've enjoyed the playoffs so far, and you enjoy the 3 games today. You can kind of let me know. I think I asked this the last time, but let me know Super Bowl matchup. Let me know your 3 picks for today. You can do that. Follow me on Twitter at Chompin' Podcast. Let me know there. Or, wherever you're listening to the podcast, down in the comment or review section, you can let me know there. But like, subscribe, follow the show, do all that to help out. But yeah, so as I always say, be safe out there. God bless. I'll catch you next episode. All right, I'm out.